Hello, it's Constructive Cynicism, and today we're going to be talking about some TAS concepts. So I'm just going to go ahead and be typing here, TAS concepts. The reason I'm doing a spreadsheet is because we're going to work with some inputs here. Or I guess not concepts, probably tricks. So essentially, there are a few things that make something TAS only. We're going to be talking about 3 tricks today. Instant wings. We're also going to be talking about nail turnarounds. And last but not least, we're going to be talking about just turnarounds in general for perfect corners. So we'll call them perfect corners. So these 3 concepts, or these 3 tricks, are not RTA viable. Now, what makes something not RTA viable? 1, mechanics. Humans have to press buttons with their hands, and there are things that humans physically cannot do in terms of how fast they can push buttons. Average mashing speed is somewhere between 7 to like 15 keys a second, which it's a pretty big range I'm giving here, but that should cover like 99% of the population. A physics frame, physics engine is 50 FPS. So there are 50 physics frames per second. And there's going to be tricks that require either you to press buttons within a frame of each other, which is 0.02 seconds because it's the 50th of a second, or on the exact same physics frame. You need to let go and repress the button before the physics frame is over, which is 0.01 seconds of leniency, which is so fast that even hardware itself can often not replicate it. Like, there are keyboards where the time to actuate, which is like the time for the computer to recognize you push the button, and the time to let go, like, won't even allow you to do this. There's like hardware limitations both for the humans itself, like your actual physical fingers can't do this and the hardware can't do it, and so just pure mechanics just don't work. 2 is timing. Humans often execute frame perfect tricks quite easily with current patch inventory drops, for instance. I'm sure everyone has never missed any of those, but regardless, in isolation you can do frame perfect tricks with like a visual cue and stuff like that. Now, where it gets tricky is chaining this repeatedly, like for instance doing a frame perfect trick on frame 31 and frame 37 of a jump. And what makes it even worse is when these frames that you're trying to do inputs on change. And we'll talk more about that, but essentially, we'll use TAS airwalk. I'm not going to be talking about TAS airwalk today, but basically, it's a non-NMG trick where you do a turnaround at a specific time to manipulate your subpixels. Basically, in Unity units, there's like a number, like we'll say 37, right? And that's your position. But there's this huge freaking decimal tacked on the end. And this huge freaking decimal is called your subpixel. And the reason there's a huge decimal is because physics engine nonsense. But this number, this huge freaking decimal, needs to be the right decimal in order for your subpixels to work and for you to get TAS airwalk. And so the way you manipulate subpixels is by doing turnarounds. But in order to do those turnarounds, you would need to A, know your position, your subpixels, which is dumb and absurd, and then you would need to turn on the right frame, which is just something humans can never do. And yeah, the third one is literally going to be knowledge. TAS has the ability to see, predict, and manipulate the future, and also just knows things humans can't. We can, when we're making TAS, we see hitboxes, we see the RNG number, we know where all the enemies are, we know our vertical subpixels and alignments, we know if we have wall cling storage or whatever. We we have knowledge that is impossible for a human to have. Like, I can literally just I can write down whatever velocity I have at the moment, and like I can know that I'm moving up 17.43 unity units on this frame, and so I can know if something is 0.01 faster, which humans will never be able to, and I just have this level of precision and consistency that humans will just never have. And yeah, I guess the fourth one would be kind of consistency, but that's a lot more relative. So yeah, that's what makes tricks not RTA viable. Now we can actually go into some of these tricks. So basically I'm going to show two minimum height jumps here. So this is the first one coming up. That is the minimum jump height. This one is also minimum jump height. Now the difference is what inputs I've pressed here. So on the first one, I did only 2 inputs, and for purpose of this, we're only focusing on the physics engine at 50 FPS, which is what I tasked this at. So each input is 1 frame, 1/50th of a second. Okay. So this is swing, not jump. So the first example, I did 1 press of jump. The second example, I did 3. And these both result in the same height because there is a minimum jump height. Now, here, I'm doing a longer jump, right? Now, the difference is on this longer jump, my inputs actually matter after a certain point. Like, so even though the difference between 1 frame and 3 frames was the exact same, the difference between, 7 frames here and then 8 frames is actually a height difference. There is a height difference. And so the game has to recognize this in the jump FSM. Like, the actual process of jumping is known in the game, and there is a minimum height for the game. And this is an active action the game takes. So I'm going to show off some wings stuff here now of using this. So if you look here, so see that dip, and now see that one. Did you see how much faster this second one was? So I wings the second I leave the ground, but you see how this wings has no dip? This is because I am pressing wings right here. So this is my wings input. Like, see how I let go jump and then I press it here? And if you remember, minimum jump was like 3 inputs, right? Like, this is still minimum jump. And so I'm pressing wings while the minimum jump is still going off. And so this minimum jump height is overriding the wings, which is why it goes off so fast. Now, this is where things get crazy. So right there, I did a swing input during my minimum jump. Oh. I tried to show the vertical stuff up here, but TAS wasn't cooperating, so that's what that was. Okay, so I'm doing a swing input. And this is what my inputs look like, you know. I'm jumping, and I'm swinging, and then I'm like falling. And then I'll show you the minimum jump here with a, I'm gonna go back. No. Okay, so this is a minimum jump with like the swing, right? Now, if we combine this all together, notice that my wings didn't dip. But I'm not in minimum jump height because my minimum jump height ended after the swing. But notice how I'm not falling in the wings, it's going off instantly. So I'm going to explain how this all works. But essentially, this is the inputs I pressed, which seems wrong. And here's why it seems wrong. I jumped, I swung, and then wings came off. I didn't press wings, like, the swing lasts for a while. Like, swing probably ended on this frame, right? So why didn't my wings go off on this frame? Well, the answer is because the process of swinging makes it impossible for wings to go off. And so when I swung here, even though the game's like, we need to do wings, the swing input overrides it, and so it doesn't go off. So this wings, we're going to say, is stored. I've stored the wings. Now, how do we get those out? Well, we actually do another input, which is we actually turn. And I'll explain why. So turning, just like jumping, is like a process that the game recognizes. We call these FSMs for representation finite state machines of just like how they're stored. This turn shares a similar property with the wings. And so once I start turning, the wings that I stored on this frame will come out on this frame. And this has to do with the swing and the turn. So yeah, sure, if I clear all this, I get instant wings, right? This is instant wings, but this is also instant wings. The difference is that the wings will come out on this frame when I turn, instead of on this frame when I add the swing. And so essentially all this does is it delays my instant wings. So I'm going to show some examples. So this right here is let me go back. So this is instant wings right there that you saw. We can go back. So as you can see, instant wings are going off, and this is instant wings under this circumstance where we actually do instant wings here, because this is still minimum jump height, as we talked about. So this is the longest you can wait on instant wings, and so this is a full height instant wings with no swing, and then this is using the swing to get instant wings. And because the instant wings gets delayed, you end up going much higher, and so that's the purpose of nail swinging. The other thing you have to keep in mind is the following. So wings is 17, and then a jump is 15 on terms of unity units of like starting velocity. And so wings is always faster than a jump. However, obviously, falling, the longer you're in the air, the more you start falling because gravity pushes you down. So this numbers go down a certain amount. And so the longer that you're in jump and wings, the longer you're in both of these states, the higher you will go and the faster you will go. So if I need to make it to the top of this platform, instant wings might get me to like right here if I hold it. But by adding a nail, yeah, sure, if I add a nail right here, I can go all the way up. But this section, this final top part, is a lot slower than the rest of this. So basically, I'm going to change the color for this. So this is the pink is fast, yellow is slow zone of a jump, right? Where you're actually going at a decent speed. And then this is the zone with instant wings, essentially. So this yellow part is still the same. This yellow part represent, or I guess I should do this. And so this blue part will represent wings. And so basically when we're using the nail, we're just getting more of this 15 number. So we're getting more 15, and then this is 17, and then this is the bad like 8 or whatever. So in both cases, we have the same amount of 17, but in this case, we just have only a little bit of 15. And essentially, that's just the concept behind instant wings. So if you need to go higher, Even though 15 is less than 17, this is still better than doing this, where you have like 8 for quite a bit instead of 15. So that's the concept behind why we nail swing a ton in like the Void Hurt task. If you look back at it in slow motion, you'll see me doing nail swings whenever I need to make longer jumps, and you'll see me not doing nail swings whenever a jump is short, where all I really want is just the 17 number because 17 is better than 15, or if my nail swing is on cooldown, because you can only swing so much, right? You can't swing forever. We don't have quick slash, so that is the concept. We'll see how much longer I can go for this. Okay, and then that jump right there is with the dip, as you can see. Let me clear. So let me show one more time. So this is with the dip, and then this is instant, and then this is dip. So you can see the clear, very different, because wings have this dip where you are actually going down. Wings normally do boop, 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 kind of like that, but obviously we're trying to override that. Okay, next concept is nail turnarounds. This one most people are going to be more familiar with, and it makes a lot more sense. It's less crazy. So this is another non-RTA viable thing. So I'm just going to show you that the nail has recoil. Essentially, this distance is the same amount, no matter where you are close to the wall. At least for horizontal position. Vertical position does matter for the concept, but we'll talk about that in a second. So as you see there, notice how much further I go. This is because even though I am currently facing left, I can start moving right. So I'll show you that really quickly in our little spreadsheet. So basically, we're going to clear this. So I'll be facing left for this example, but I can have swung right on this frame. So I swung, but I can start moving right actually the second I swing. And note that we're actually facing left. Okay. And the swing, you would think, hey, you're pressing right, you press swing, you would swing right. But you actually swing left, because this swing is actually processed before all other inputs before left, right. So in reality, can I move this? Yeah. Please, just let me move. Okay, whatever, this is close enough. So in reality, swings are processed first. So you would see swing, then right, not right, then swing. And you can't turn mid-swing. But because we're holding right, even though we're not turning the swing, we're still moving right. And so that's what happens here in this clip, is I'm actually pressing right and swing on the exact same frame. But because swing is processed first, I don't turn, but I'm still moving right. So I get to use both the nail recoil speed and the moving right speed, is essentially how that works. So I messed it up here, but I'm going to show you this in application. So that is how you do a nail turnaround. So I'll show you frame by frame. So essentially, I turn on this frame. Unfortunately, because the video is at 50 FPS, it doesn't show the turn animation first. But I turn first, and then the turn is processed like a frame later because turns are bugged. We'll talk more about that in a second. And then the swing goes off, and then I'm pressing right during this. And so I'm moving right while I get the nail recoil. And so that's what gives the speed. And so that's how those work. Another thing I didn't mention about instant wings is you can actually instant wings off a wall jump. So this is back to concept 1. The difference with that is that this is tighter because the minimum height for a wall jump is only 1 frame instead of 3. So this is never RTA viable. Instant wings off the ground is because it's not consistent, but you can do it because instant wings off the ground is like this, right? So you only need to press it like within 3 frames. Off a wall jump, it's on this frame. So the window is a third of a minimum jump. This is a press within 0.02 because you let go for 1 frame. At 100 FPS, you can actually do a same frame repress. So the game outputs this, but it recognizes that on this frame, you actually press the button like this. And so big X is going to represent like a new press. And so the game recognizes that and gives you wings. But that's why 100 FPS is faster than 50. But that window is 0.01, which will never be done by humans to any consistent degree. Okay, so I'm going to show a concept. So whenever you jump to a platform, you're going to notice you see this time that you're in the air. This is unavoidable. This is because there are certain jump heights that you can achieve, right? There's only 50 frames in a second, and so these notches are going to represent the actual height for each frame. So this is like 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. But oftentimes, Team Cherry puts platforms right here. So you would need to press jump for like 3.5 frames, which the game doesn't recognize because physics engine, right? And the way that we can actually manipulate that is through turnarounds, because turnarounds, for whatever reason, kill jump height. So if you turn on this frame, on frame 2, we're going to use pink. So if you turn on frame 2, your next jump is actually here. And so now all these jumps are slightly lower. If that makes any sense. I'll try and make it more visible, actually. So you do a big wiggle. Now all of your jumps, these are still the same distance. Like this distance is the same as this distance right here. As you can see, these line up. It's just that this tiny 1 frame where you turn is killed because of the turnaround. Okay. And so this thing that I'm showing is not RTA viable, not because of mechanics, but because of pure timing. Now, if you do tiny little wiggles, so you see how I'm doing tiny little turns, I land sooner. No height, none of that. I instantly land, and now because I've already landed, I can jump faster, essentially. In this specific example, this platform, because I was doing this at 100 FPS, this platform was actually positioned so perfectly that I couldn't find a way to land it on any faster to save time. Just because 100 FPS leads to some weird things with like the physics engine, stuff like that. I have a lot less control. But essentially, turnarounds kill jump height. I'm going to show you that here in a second. So this is a normal jump. So I just want to show the jump. Normal jump. This is a jump where I'm turning around every other frame. Let me show you that again. Normal. Oh, wait, no. Also, no, I'm pressing jump the exact same amount of time. So that's a normal jump. Turnarounds. See how much slower I'm going up and down? This is because turnarounds change horizontal momentum and vertical momentum slightly. And so we can use that to change our position, essentially, our subpixels, and we can land on platforms sooner that way. And so instead of going boop, boop with turnarounds, you'd go like, oh, I tried to change to blue, sorry. Instead you go turn, you would land on this sooner, and then you'd like turn and land on this sooner, and then you'd be able to jump. Essentially is what it means. But there you go, there you have it. That's the three main task concepts. The first one, instant wings, is only not RTA viable because of pure mechanics. So if you have good enough fingers to repress within 0.06, can you undo? Oh well. 0.06 seconds, you need to be able to repress. If you can do that, then you can instant wings off the ground. And then you could swing during this time and you could get the delayed swing as well. The swing turnaround instant wings is RTA viable in the sense that it's as RTA viable as the one straight from the ground. So yeah, that could be done by humans for sure, but not off a wall, because off a wall it's 0.02. Not RTA viable. Humans will never do this, or never do this consistently. Humans kind of can do this. In fact, I've seen videos of Somni. She did one for like Abyss and stuff like that. So I could see IL runners in like Path of Pain and stuff like that doing this at some point. Next concept, nail turnaround. Is it RTA viable? You have to remember that every time that you turn around for the nail is a frame that you're going negative 8.3 in the direction you want. 8.3 is walking speed. So you lose 8.3 distance, and the speed for the nail is 12 for a few frames. So essentially, if you also, there's a frame where you're going 0. So that is essentially 0. So let's say you're walking for 6 frames normally. 6, we're going to simplify this down to 8. Okay, so 6 times 8 is 48. Now, if on one of those frames, 8, you then go back 8, and then you get 1 frame of 0, and then 3 frames of 12, it's 36, which isn't enough. So you actually don't get 3 frames of 12. I think it's actually more like 5 or something. But what you can see is that for this to save time, it's really tight already as is. When I was doing the math, in order for a turnaround to save time, turnaround nail swing, assuming frame perfect turnarounds, you would have to press left within a 0.06 frame, within 3 frames. For it to go neutral, to not lose time, for it to save time, it has to be within 0.04. To save like a frame, or to save like point, or like 4 or whatever, and then it has to be within a single frame to save any decent amount of time, is what it adds up to. So will I see nail turnarounds as being RTA viable? No, because the difference is that with instant wings, we're looking at the same window to go even. Whereas instant wings completely removes this dip and moves your entire jump distance from 15 to 17. And so it's a considerable portion, because you're holding jump for like, let's say 10 frames, I don't know. That's like a 20 increase in vertical momentum. Whereas in nail turnaround, like at most you're getting like 16, I think was the number. And it's a whole like 2 frames tighter for less time saved. So nail turnarounds unlikely to be human viable. Now the final technique, doing perfect turnarounds to land on platforms sooner. This is never ever in any world, in any reason, even remotely viable. Let me explain why. So we already have the whole thing about knowledge being something that humans will never have. But let's say we lab it out. Let's say we know what frames, we know what frames we need to do, which, because humans can obtain this knowledge, at least for this part. Not in the moment, but we can obtain it later. If we know what frame to press it on, it's still a timing thing. Because if I tell you to press left on frame 6 of a jump, like, humans aren't going to know that. In order for anyone to even figure out what that looks like, you would need to see each frame of the jump where you are. You need to see what all these frames look like, and then you would have to try and replicate RTA, which is already hard enough. So it's combining both a frame perfect trick, in addition to having to find the knowledge of what it even looks like. So, I think these 3 techniques are safe to say that they are TAS only, except for instant wings. I think instant wings is probably the only instant wings from ground, not from wall. Instant wings from ground is the only technique here which I could see in some world humans doing. The other ones, yeah, definite no. Anyways, that's my nerdy rant. These numbers are approximations because I don't actually have the velocity input display. There was going to be like a big cool velocity display up here, and it would tell you all these numbers, but my computer is still having a heart attack right now, so I can't. If you're interested in a video where I actually show off the numbers and I talk about that kind of stuff, yeah, let me know in comments and stuff, because these videos do take more time than they should to make. So yeah, thank you for dropping by and appreciate it. Catch you in the next one.